Ever thought about charity as like a tool, not just to help other people, but to, change yourself in the process?
Hmm, interesting.
That's what we're going to look at in this deep dive using the catapult effect.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that.
It's this philosophy by WaXhira. He's the founder and grandmaster of the Sacred Atlantean Brotherhood.
Okay, cool.
So what do you make of this whole catapult idea? I'm curious.
Well, WaXhira uses this analogy, right, of a catapult to explain how charity can, like, really propel your life.
Okay.
So the more you put in, the further it goes.
Right. Further for who?
For everyone, really. The recipient and you too.
Yeah.
Like pulling back that catapult arm, the more effort, the bigger the impact.
Okay, I kind of get that. But what does pulling back the catapult actually look like, in real life? What makes it different from just like dropping some change in a donation jar?
It's about going beyond what's comfortable. With your giving, I mean. Like, think about when you've been asked to help with something, and you're like, ugh, that's going to be a stretch.
Yeah, been there.
That's the kind of effort WaXhira is talking about, like pushing past your limits.
Okay, so it's about challenging yourself. But why is that so important for growth as a person?
Because it makes you face your own limits.
Hmm?
It forces you to expand how generous you can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like a seed that needs to break through the soil to sprout. That struggle, that's what lets it grow.
Wow, that's a great image.
Right.
So instead of just like writing a check or donating old clothes, maybe it's about like really committing to volunteering, even
Well,
when you're busy.
yeah, yeah. Or like donating a big chunk of your income, even if it means changing your lifestyle.
Exactly. Or maybe even like forgiving someone who's hurt you, even if it's really, really hard.
That's it. It's that internal commitment you make.
Yeah.
That goes way beyond just the act of giving something away.
This is powerful stuff. But doesn't focusing on the personal benefits, kind of take away from the selflessness of charity?
That's a really good question.
Yeah.
WaXhira addresses that, though. He says the real power of this catapult effect is aligning your actions with a pure heart.
Okay.
It's not about expecting something back.
Yeah.
But it's about realizing that when you're truly generous, it creates this positive energy flow that comes back to you in unexpected ways.
Positive energy flow. Intriguing. How does that actually show up in our lives?
Oh, it's not always material.
right, of course.
WaXhira talks about like more inner peace or a sense of purpose, even opportunities popping up that you never thought of,
Yeah.
all from this like energy alignment.
So it's like setting an intention and then trusting that, the universe responds.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But the response might not be what you'd expect. Could be a subtle shift in how you see things, or, a sudden clarity, or even meeting someone randomly who leads you down this whole new path.
So it's not about keeping score or trying to like manipulate things. It's more about just being generous and letting that positive energy do its thing. Like those times when you volunteer and just feel amazing afterwards.
Yeah, perfect example. That feeling you get from making a difference. It doesn't matter if anyone else sees it.
Right. So WaXhira is not just talking about money and stuff, though, is he? I mean, he talks about compassion, understanding, love, all as charity, too, right?
You got it. He makes this point that we all have something to give, no matter how much money we have. A listening ear, encouraging words, a genuine connection, those are all powerful forms of charity, too.
It's true. When you feel really heard by someone, it can be huge, especially when you're struggling.
For sure. And those simple acts, they often mean more than any gift. It shows you genuinely care without wanting anything back.
This really changes how we think about charity. It's not just about money, it's about showing up for each other. But WaXhira also talks about this spiritual dimension to charity. What's he getting at there?
He says it's about giving with a pure heart, without expecting any reward. When you do that, he believes you align yourself with these universal principles, like of unity and harmony.
Universal principles. Tell me more about that. Like, what are they and how does selfless giving connect us to them?
Well, it's like by tapping into those principles, we go beyond our own egos. We connect to something way bigger.
Okay.
It's recognizing that we're all connected and acting from love and compassion, not just self-interest.
Fascinating. But how do we know if we're really giving from a pure place? And what if we do have some expectations, even subtle ones? Does that like ruin the positive effects?
Those are great questions. And they're really at the core of what WaXhira is saying. He knows it's a process, a journey. We're all always learning about what true giving means.
So it's not about being perfectly selfless overnight.
Right.
It's more about being aware of why we're doing things and trying to match our actions with our best values. Man, I'm really starting to get how deep this is. It's not just about the giving itself, it's about the change that can happen inside us when we do it right.
That's what makes the catapult effect so powerful. It's not just helping others, it's using charity to grow as a person and spiritually too.
So, for our listeners out there, if you're feeling stuck or looking for more purpose, maybe trying a new way of giving could be that spark you need.
It's a way to get out of your comfort zone, to challenge those limits and find strengths you didn't know you had.
It's like WaXhira is saying, don't just think about what you get from giving, think about who you become.
That's a perfect way to put it. It's about the potential for change,
Mm.
both for who you're giving to and for yourself. And that's something we'll keep exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
It's crazy to think how even little acts of giving, can create these ripples, not just out there, but like inside us too. Makes you wonder what we're missing out on when we don't really embrace this whole philosophy.
Yeah, for sure. I think so many of us get stuck in that transaction mindset. Like, if I do this, I'll get that.
Totally.
And we miss out on the deeper rewards of just giving without strings attached. It's like so focused on the goal, we forget to enjoy the journey itself.
I know exactly what you mean. It becomes like checking a box, not really connecting with the experience. So how do we get out of that transaction headspace and move into something more, I don't know, genuine with giving?
Well, WaXhira talks about finding that balance,
Yeah.
making charity part of your life in a way that's both real for you and something you can keep doing.
Right, right.
It's not about being some like super saint who's always sacrificing everything. More like finding that spot where your giving matters. It makes an impact, but it also works with your own life, your own resources.
That makes a lot of sense. Pushing yourself, but not to the breaking point. And I guess that looks different for everyone, huh? What's a big stretch for one person might be nothing for someone else.
Oh, absolutely. It's about starting where you are and then taking that next step, whatever that is.
Yeah.
Could be finally making that monthly donation you've thought about,
Uh-huh.
or just being there to listen to a friend who's having a hard time. The point is, challenge yourself, but in a way that feels both doable and do like it matters.
So progress over perfection, basically, that takes the pressure off because sometimes you see these like huge examples of selflessness and you're like, I could never.
I know, right?
But really, it's the small things you keep doing that make the difference.
It is. Think of it like building a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. And what's amazing is even little acts of giving can have a big impact. Think of a time someone was kind to you, even if it seems small.
Yeah.
Chances are it meant more than you realized at the time.
Oh, totally. I remember this one day I was having a terrible time, and this random person just smiled at me and said, have a good day.
See?
It was nothing, but it changed my whole mood.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It reminds us we all have the power to do that for each other. And it doesn't have to be this big production. It's those simple things that can hit the hardest.
So, thinking about all this, what's one small way you could pull back the catapult this week? Could be something like sending a thank you to someone who's helped you
Uh.
or offering to help a neighbor out.
Mm-hmm. And as you do it, pay attention to how it makes you feel. Those subtle changes inside. That sense of, I don't know, purpose, your heart opening up a bit. That's where the real magic is.
Because at the end of the day, it's not just about doing good out there. It's about doing good for ourselves, too.
Exactly.
It's like tapping into that generosity we all have inside and letting it flow out. Who knows what amazing things can happen then?
Right. Maybe you discover some passion you didn't know you had, or meet a new lifelong friend, or even just feel more connected to your community, the world around you. So many possibilities.
And to think, we all have the power to create those, not just for ourselves, but for others too. It's like WaXhira is saying, when we get this giving thing right, we unlock this endless source of abundance. Abundance of the heart that never runs out, it only grows.
And as we share that with everyone, it's like this ripple effect. Positivity, generosity, that can change not just our own lives, but tons of others too.
So wrapping up this part of our deep dive on the catapult effect, I'm left feeling hopeful, inspired. Even in a world that's tough, that feels divided sometimes, we do have the power to make things better.
We do.
And it starts with just opening our hearts, being willing to push a little past what's comfortable and give freely, knowing that what we get back will be way more than what we put in. It's like we're told success is about getting more money, stuff, status. But what if it's really about what we give away? That's what makes us truly abundant.
Yeah, WaXhira really flips the script on that whole idea of success, huh?
Mhm.
He says it's not about what you've got. It's about how rich your inner life is, your connections, how you impact the world. That's the real measure.
So it's less what can I get, more what can I give. Pretty different from how we usually think,
Oh,
right?
totally. Goes against that whole consumerism thing we're bombarded with, But I think a lot of us, deep down, we want more than just things. We want connection, purpose, to feel like we belong. And this catapult effect, it kind of shows a way to get there. Real fulfillment comes from giving, not getting.
And the more you give, the more you have to give, right? It's like that saying, find yourself by losing yourself in service to others. Charity becomes like this path to figuring yourself out.
Exactly. It's realizing we're all tied together. What we do ripples out way beyond just us. When you give without expecting anything back, you tap into this different kind of abundance of the heart, and that's limitless.
It never runs dry. The more you share, the more there is. Like a well of love and compassion we can all drink from.
And anyone can reach that well. Doesn't matter who you are, what you have, your background. You don't need to be rich or have special skills to be a giver. It's just about being willing to open up,
Mhm.
to lend a hand.
As we wrap up this deep dive into the catapult effect, I'm left feeling possibility. Like WaXhira's handed us this tool, for changing ourselves, changing the world, and it's right there for any of us to use. We do have the power to make things more loving, more kind, one little action at a time.
That's right. And don't forget, even the tiniest act of giving matters. For whoever receives it, AD for you doing the giving. It's this beautiful loop of generosity and growth we can all be part of.
So as you go about your week, think about this. How can you pull back that catapult in your own life? What's one small thing, but something meaningful where you can stretch fit, tap into that giving part of yourself, and send some good out into the world?
Pay attention to how it makes you feel. What shifts inside you? And how does generosity find its way back to you, maybe in ways you'd never expect? It's a journey, figuring all this out, and we hope you take it.
And with that, we'll leave you to think about all this, put it into action your own way. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep giving back.